Let's go Dolphins! Something big is happening within the Miami Dolphins organization, and I mean really big. This time it's about the guy behind one of the most dramatic defensive turnarounds in the entire NFL this season. A man whose name is quietly rising on the list of the most coveted candidates for the head coaching job in American football. And here's the crucial detail. If the rumors are true, the Dolphins may be just weeks away from losing him. Yes, you heard right. While all eyes are glued to the playoff race, a silent storm is brewing off the field. Anthony Weaver, Miami's defensive coordinator, is attracting the attention of the entire league, and not just for the numbers he's putting up. NFL experts, executives, and decision-makers are circling like sharks, and the question isn't if he'll get an offer to be head coach, it's when. So, before we dive into this bombshell news that could change everything for the Dolphins defense in 2026, give this a like if you're rooting for this team all the way and leave a comment if you're a true fan. Go Dolphins! My heart bleeds aqua and orange. I want to hear the opinions of diehard fans, veterans, new fans, everyone, because what happens next could define the next era of Dolphins football. Now, let's dive into this story. Anthony Weaver, in just his first season as defensive coordinator for the Dolphins, has been named by Diana Rossini as one of the top emerging head coaching candidates in the league. That's not just talk. This guy has been in the running for top jobs before. In fact, he's already interviewed for head coaching positions 4 times, including the Falcons, Commanders, Saints, and Bears. He was even a finalist for the Saints job, narrowly missing out. That alone tells you how close he's been to landing one of the 32 most powerful jobs in football. But let's get real for a moment. Just a few months ago, fans were calling for his head. The Dolphins' defense was abysmal, bottom 3 in nearly every statistical category through the first 6 weeks. People were shouting to fire Chris Greer, to fire Mike Mcdaniel, and yes, even Anthony Weaver. And yet, here we are now, with the Dolphins' defense surging. What changed? Was it just easier opponents? A healthier lineup? Or did Weaver figure something out? Let me hit you with some numbers. In the first 6 weeks, Miami ranked 31st in EPA per play, 30th in EPA against the run, and 31st in EPA per dropback. It was ugly, plain and simple. But over the last 7 games, 9th in EPA per play, 3rd in EPA against the run, 13th in EPA per dropback. That is a full-blown transformation, folks. You don't go from bottom feeder to top-tier defense without serious adjustments. And while yes, the schedule did get lighter, facing teams like the Saints, Falcons, and Commanders, Miami still held their own against serious running threats like Bijan Robinson, James Cook, Breece Hall, Lamar Jackson, and Derrick Henry. That's not just a fluke, that's real, disciplined defensive football. Weaver's ability to get the most out of this roster, even without star power, is what makes him such a compelling head coach candidate. Let's be honest, this defense wasn't loaded with talent. The pass rush was anchored by Chop Robinson, Emmanuel Ogbah, and Quentin Bell, not exactly household names. And yet, they've been effective. How? Coaching, development, scheme. You want more evidence? Let's talk quarterbacks. Rasul Douglas and Jack Jones weren't even on the roster in June. Jack Jones was signed during training camp. Rasul Douglas signed on roster cutdown day. And now, Douglas is the 5th highest rated cornerback in the NFL according to PFF. Jack Jones, 41st. You're getting top half league production from guys picked up off the street. That's not luck. That's system, belief, and coaching. And the transformation along the defensive line? Tremendous. Jordan Phillips, Kenneth Grant, and even 7th round rookie Zeke Biggers are all stepping up. Biggers has become a key rotational piece. Zach Sealer has improved. Bradley Chubb and Chop Robinson have elevated their game. Almost every lineman has played significantly better in the second half of the season. Again, coaching matters, and Weaver is clearly pushing the right buttons. Let's not forget, this guy's resume isn't built just on this season. Last year, in Baltimore, he was already turning heads. And now in Miami, despite a rocky start, he's put together a case that's getting attention across the league. Head coach candidates like Robert Saleh, Vance Joseph, Mike McCarthy, Arthur Smith, none of them come with more momentum or upside than Weaver right now. He's not just a name in the hat, he's a real contender. Now here's the twist. Even if Weaver does get hired away, the Dolphins stand to benefit. Because he qualifies under the NFL's minority coach elevation policy, Miami would receive 2 third-round compensatory picks if he becomes a head coach elsewhere. One in 2026 and another in 2027. That's no small reward. But is it worth it? Would you trade your rising defensive mastermind for a couple of draft picks? It's a real dilemma. On the flip side, if Mike McDaniel stays, and all signs point to that, do you really want to introduce a new defensive coordinator again in 2026? That could mean 3 different schemes in 3 years for your young defenders. That kind of instability can derail player development. Keeping Weaver would provide some much-needed continuity and give McDaniel a solid partner on the other side of the ball. Their chemistry is clear. Offense is Mike's domain, defense is Weaver's, and together they've got something that works, especially when the talent is still catching up to the scheme. If Miami does lose Anthony Weaver to a head coaching job, the fallout could be more significant than just a shift on the coaching staff. It could impact the entire trajectory of the Dolphins' defensive development. Let's really unpack what losing Weaver would mean for this franchise and why it's such a pivotal decision. First, continuity. We touched on this earlier, but it can't be overstated. Young players like Zeke Biggers, Kenneth Grant, and even mid-career guys like Jordan Phillips have shown marked improvement under Weaver's guidance. If a new defensive coordinator comes in with a different philosophy, zone heavy instead of man, passive versus aggressive, these players could regress. Football isn't just about talent, it's about fit. And Weaver's scheme has clearly unlocked something in this group that wasn't there in the first half of the season. You break that rhythm, and it could take another full year to reestablish, if at all. Second, there's the leadership angle. Anthony Weaver isn't just calling plays, he's commanding respect in that locker room. Remember, this is a defense that was statistically one of the worst in football through the first month and a half. Most teams would have collapsed under that kind of scrutiny. But instead, the Dolphins clawed their way back, transformed their defensive identity, and now rank among the league's most improved units. That kind of turnaround doesn't happen without buy-in from the players, and they've clearly bought into Weaver. It's also worth noting that he's managed to do all this with an aging, injury-prone unit that lacked depth at key positions. The pass rush has no marquee name since the departure of Jalen Phillips. The secondary was assembled last minute with Douglas and Jones. And yet, through smart game planning and maximizing each player's role, Weaver built something that, at the very least, competes every week, and at best, wins games. Now think about this. If Weaver is lured away and takes a head coaching job, which teams are most likely to come calling? Well, you've got surefire vacancies with the Giants and Titans. But then there are the question marks, the Raiders, Cardinals, Bengals, Falcons, and Browns. Some of those teams, like Atlanta and Tennessee, have young defensive cores that could greatly benefit from a guy like Weaver. And let's not forget, he was a finalist for the Saints' job last season and interviewed with the Commanders, Bears, and Falcons. This isn't speculation. This is real. And if he gets hired, you can bet he'll be bringing some of his trusted assistants with him. That's just how this works. So you're not only losing your defensive coordinator, you could lose position coaches, analysts, and developmental minds that have contributed to the current rise in performance. That creates a ripple effect throughout the entire building. Yet, there's another layer. Let's say Miami chooses to hold on to Weaver by promoting him within, say, making him assistant head coach, or giving him more control over personnel on defense. That could be a short-term solution, but it's not likely to keep him around forever. Weaver wants to be a head coach. He's interviewed 4 times already. The league is watching him now more than ever, and it's only a matter of time before someone gives him that shot. So what's the play here? Do the Dolphins lean into the inevitable and start prepping for life after Weaver, even at the cost of slowing defensive growth? Or do they go all in on retaining him for one more year, possibly making concessions to do so, knowing that the alternative is a total schematic reset? There's one more angle that I haven't even touched yet. What if Weaver is the next head coach in Miami? If Mcdaniel's tenure doesn't extend beyond 2026, and Weaver is still in the building, it makes all the sense in the world to hand him the keys. He's already built respect inside the locker room. He already knows the personnel. He already has the backing of the organization. That would be the smoothest transition possible, especially compared to blowing it all up and starting over. But for that to even be a possibility, he needs to still be here next year. And that's far from a guarantee. So as the Dolphins eye a playoff push, the front office is going to be fighting a two-front war, one on the field and one off it. They'll need to manage Weaver's rising stock delicately, because the minute the season ends, the vultures will circle, interviews will start, calls will come in, and unless Miami already has a plan in place, they might find themselves scrambling to replace the guy who turned a broken defense into a unit that now gives them a fighting chance every Sunday. This offseason isn't just about Tua's extension or potential trades or draft picks. It's about keeping this coaching core intact. And at the heart of that is Anthony Weaver. So I'll leave you with this. Should Miami do whatever it takes to retain Anthony Weaver, even if it means